Hello and welcome back to the Sam Beast YouTube channel. My name is David Foxen. Thank you very much for joining me today as we strip things back and talk about hardware asset management, or HAM as you may have heard it known as. But what exactly is hardware asset management? So hardware asset management relates to the people, processes and technologies required for you to optimally and proactively manage your assets throughout their life cycle within your organization. Hardware asset management is a key area within IT asset management, or ITAM, which obviously also covers the management of software and SaaS and cloud as well. They all come together to create IT asset management, which is the all-encompassing hardware, software, cloud and SaaS management for your organization. Now, a hardware has a number of different stages that need to be managed throughout its life cycle. They're starting off with the onboarding and the procurement, right the way through its life with you, making sure that it's optimal, it's repaired, it's maintained, that if people aren't using it, you're getting it back from leavers, that you're doing hardware refreshes as well, right the way through to that end of life, the retirement, and the IT asset disposition or the disposal of the asset. Now, there are a number of key processes that help the asset along the way that IT asset management develop and own to make sure that you are really getting the most out of the asset that you've invested in. Now, your hardware asset management scope may vary depending on your organization or the industry that you're actually in. Some organizations have a lot of regulations that actually dictate what's classified as a hardware asset. And this can typically include things you wouldn't normally count as a hardware asset, like consumables and peripherals, headsets, keyboards, mice, wires, cables, stuff that you wouldn't typically consider as a standard hardware asset. So the typical scope, and a really good place to start, you can split it out between different areas. So first of all, you've got like your end user technology. So this is typically your laptops, your desktops, your mobile phones, your tablets, and maybe even your monitors that your end users are using. You've then got your network assets, so your switches, your routers, and your firewalls. These are really key assets that you need to be managing and can actually be really fruitful at the end of their life if they've been managed correctly throughout their life cycle. You've also got your servers and your storage devices, obviously key hardware assets for any organization. But actually, with the physical server side of things, we're seeing that kind of become less and less important as organizations are actually getting rid of their data centers and their server rooms and moving into the cloud. But still, nevertheless, if you still have your physical servers, a very important asset to manage. Now, like I said, depending on your organization and the industry that you're in, you may have variants and deviations to that, which is absolutely fine. There is no set in stone, this is what you must have as a hardware asset within your scope. It is based on an organization to organization basis, and you may have internal drivers as to why you're capturing asset types that I haven't mentioned in this list. Some of the weirder and wackier asset types that I've been asked to manage as an ITAM consultant include things like drones, the camera things that fly around and take cool videos and pictures. I've been asked to include those in my hardware asset management scope, which was interesting to manage nonetheless. I think something that's a really good general rule of thumb when building your hardware asset management scope is if you can inventory it, whether that's through an inventory tool or an ITSM tool or an ITAM tool, fantastic. If you can get an agent, or even if it's agentless, but you can report on it, amazing. Next step would be if it's got an asset tag on it, you can still track it that way using barcode or QR code scanners. But if it's got no unique identifier and you can't put an asset tag on it, then it becomes really hard to manage, and you need to look at the risk versus the reward of putting all of that effort in to manage that kind of asset. Now, you typically manage your physical assets using inventory tools. This is typically within like your ITSM tool, or even if you're lucky enough to have an IT asset management tool. You would manage these assets using the asset management database, and you may also have a configuration management database, but that's more of a CMDB thing. We really care about the physical asset itself. Now, these tools will give you all the information you need about what the spec of the physical asset is. You can even see when it was last online, who was last using it. And if you've got the proactive parameters in place and you've developed that tool, you'll also be able to see physical office locations, aka it's on the 5th floor over by this port, so that you can go and proactively manage it and you can track it throughout its whole life cycle. So that is a very high level overview of what hardware asset management is and what the scope kind of looks like. Hopefully you found it useful. I could talk about hardware asset management for days, but I'm not going to bore you with that today. But yeah, really hope that you found it useful. Really would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. And hopefully we'll see you next time here at the Sam Beast YouTube channel. Happy iTamming.